Welcome back. With the rise of childhood obesity, prevention is an important goal for all parents. So what do you do? Joining us now is psychologist Dr. Randy Kale. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Elaine.
How big is this problem?
Oh, it's a huge problem. It's becoming bigger and bigger. And the most recent study we have suggests that childhood obesity doubled in 15 years.
Doubled?
Doubled.
What does that mean then for adults, for kids who grow up?
Well, it means this. If an adolescent is obese, there's an 80% likelihood that they'll be obese as an adult. And the implications in type 2 diabetes, heart disease, shortened lifespan, all sorts of limitations in terms of life activity. So it's a very serious issue, but it's also a very tough issue to talk about because there are all these sensitivities, you know.
You mean parents sensitive about talking about their children?
Yeah, sensitive about, well, first we have our own issues sometimes. A lot of parents who are struggling with weight issues end up having kids who are struggling with weight issues. So I have my own set of baggage that's coming there. Secondly, though, we have the reactivity and our worries about our child's self-esteem. So that's in the picture. So it's just a complicated, difficult thing to address. On top of that, we're not really talking about just education about nutrition. We're talking about a habit change. Last year, for example, there was a study in the Journal of Human Nutrition and Diet, 2008 study, which showed that if we just educate parents about nutrition and eating well, it doesn't really work. No change happens, which probably shouldn't surprise us. It requires that sort of parenting intervention so that they understand how do we change behavior, how do we change habits. So most of the research has been unsuccessful because we just try to educate parents about what kids need to eat. It just doesn't work.
How can we do that then? Do we do it in the home and school, or do schools need to become more involved as well in trying to change the habit?
Well, schools being involved is helpful in terms of monitoring what kids can eat, of course, but it's not where the real problem is. The problem isn't what schools are feeding kids. It's what parents do in terms of creating habits for kids. You know, so we have to look first in the mirror. You know, we've really got to take a careful look at when our kids see us come home and we're stressed. Do we head to the freezer and pull out the ice cream? Do we pull out the chips? You know, what's the habits that they're observing? That's the first place we have to look. The second place, though, is we really have to look in that pantry to see what is it that kids are reaching for. You know, when we go to the grocery store,
what are we buying?
What are we buying? Because it's not that complicated. Often these kids that are struggling with obesity or overweight, they're just eating the wrong kind of foods, and it's not complicated. We just need to get those things out of the home.
So what do you say to parents? How do you broach the subject?
Well, I think that's a really tough one. You know, some parents are very sensitive. Pediatricians talk to me about this all the time because some parents become very reactive. They'll walk out and say, you know, there's not a problem. My son's, you know, only 20 pounds overweight, and they don't really view that as a significant issue. But the likelihood of that then becoming a more significant problem is it's very likely.
Okay.
The other piece that's important here is activity. That often we see these kids who are struggling with overweight and obesity is that their activity is sitting in front of a TV or computer or video game.
Yeah,
so we have to promote a more active lifestyle.
And I guess if you promote it, you have to do it as a parent. You have to show and be an example.
Be an example and show some interest in it.
Okay, Dr. Kale, we've run out of time. We thank you for those tips. If you have some questions, maybe about your child and childhood obesity, you can write Dr. Kale. He has some answers for you.